And welcome back. Thank you all for joining me at the English Speedrun Restream of RTA in Japan, Summer 2025, Japan's largest speedrun event, running twice a year, once in summer and once in winter. Right now, the event is running from August 9th to August 15th, so we're running out of time as we continue to raise money for Doctors Without Borders, which was that charity video you just saw. Doctors Without Borders provides medical assistance around the world to people affected by conflict, epidemics, disasters, and exclusion from healthcare. And right now we are 1,000 yen away from 8 million raised. And we're going to hit that in this run coming up right now. We have Etrian Odyssey 2 HD, Your Child category, which I don't quite know what that means, but the good news is I don't need to because I have DeveloperDamien on the line with me and they are going to help us out. Damien, introduce yourselves. Tell us about the game.
Hi. Yes. So I'm DeveloperDamien. I make RPGs, not these kind, much smaller in scale. And yeah, this is Etrian Odyssey 2 HD remaster. This was released as part of the original trilogy remasters. So right now, immediately they're about to select expert difficulty, which is just the difficulty of the original DS games. Okay, so for those that don't know, Etrian Odyssey 2 is a first-person dungeon crawler. You create a party, try to explore a dungeon, and out the gate, we're going to be creating our guild name. And then we're going to be creating 5 or more than 5 different characters. You can have up to 30 in your guild, but only 5 in your active party. So right now, I think they're doing names based on incentives because I've seen their speedrun and normally it's just everybody has the same names. They might be doing this to make it a bit easier to tell what's happening. But yeah, so they're making a Ronin, a Hexer, a Survivalist, another Ronin, a second Hexer, and then 2 Gunners. So all of these will be relevant at given times. Right now they're putting together their formation, which has a Ronin Hexer in front with a Survivalist, the second Ronin, and the second Hexer in the back of the party. Your front row is more likely to get targeted by attacks than the back row. Only certain attacks can hit the back row even. And so now they're doing, one of the things that this had on the DS was you could actually draw maps on the touch screen. So right now, the first quest that the game has you do actually requires you to draw a certain amount of the map. So they've drawn some amount they're going to walk through in the auto tiles from walking around, do the rest. And now they are assigning skills. First, the Ronin takes EI and Kubi-uchi, which has a chance to instant kill. Hexer takes Curses. Survivalist gets Stalker to reduce enemy encounter chance for 70 steps. The other Ronin also picks up EI and Kubi-uchi, but also picks up Escape Up to be able to run from encounters better. And then the final Hexer picks up rank 2 of Curses for the prerequisite for Poison. Okay. Now they go turn in the quest. This is very front-loaded. I'll get a chance to breathe in a little bit. Now that the first quest is done, you get a permit to actually go to the shop and buy equipment. So we're doing that. We buy a katana for both of the Ronin. Then we're buying 2 warp wires to let you teleport back to town from anywhere in the dungeon. We're buying 4 medica, which are healing items. And then we buy 2 agility belts to equip on the Ronin in the back of the party, who has escape up, so that way they can escape faster. And also act sooner, which is sometimes important. Also, this runner is the only one that does this category in the original and the HD remaster, and they do things differently from everybody else. So there was a random encounter, they just ran away from it because it's not a random encounter we're looking for. That orange orb is an FOE, or I should have looked up what FOE stands for, but basically it's worse than a mini boss. You just don't want to fight those unless it's required. Most of the time, they are worse than bosses. The first one you saw was static. These other ones that we're seeing patrol certain areas. and we can run into some that actually can try and pursue and deal damage. They will actively chase after you. Now they're doing a suspend save in order to do RNG manipulation. Now they're going into the next area of the dungeon after they recast the Survivalist's spell to prevent encounters. There's Kurogane, which is the Black Wolf, and his master, whose name isn't important. We'll get to that later. That was a glowing pillar. That was a geomagnetic pulse that lets you teleport back to town from that spot in the dungeon. And some of them will let you teleport back to that spot. But now we're looking for a specific encounter, which now we're doing RNG manipulation. We're going to get rid of these snails because the one that we care about is the ladybug. Because the ladybug's going to do something special and call this Rafflesia, which is a very strong enemy. One shot's the front guy right there. We're going to see a lot more of our party members get one shot here. More RNG manipulation. We're using the Ronin's Kibiuchi skill to one-shot the Rafflesia, because with RNG manipulation, we can guarantee that it's going to do the one-hit KO. Right now, we're keeping the ladybug alive, so it keeps trying to call for an ally support. And we continue doing this for a little while. Once again, another party member goes down. Now we're continuing the manipulation. We move one of our party members to the front, so that way they're still back row, because once everybody in the front's gone, the back row becomes the front row. Now the ladybug's been poisoned, so as soon as it KOs our Ronin, it dies basically on the same frame, leaving our one Hexer alive, who all the XP that you get gets divided evenly across all party members that are alive. So having only one party member alive means you're able to get all of that XP on the one. That Hexer in a little bit is going to learn a lot of... It's going to increase the ranks on the poison skill that they have. Now we are doing a little bit of dungeon exploring, because we're trying to hit a check that we have to hit in order to... There's multiple spots in the game where you progress to a certain point, you get blocked off, and you have to go back to the guild in town. So what we do is, now we use an item, we use a warp wire. We heal our party member, we use a warp wire, we go back to the quest, and then now we're talking to him to get the quest finished, so now we can progress further through the dungeon. Now we have our official instructions, we're allowed to go through, we have our permission. So now we're continuing to progress through. We use a skill. Now we're doing more RNG manipulation with a suspended save. Okay, we run into that, we run away, now we continue progressing. Now we hit another person, we get another check, we use warp wire, return back, now we revive all our party members. Good. And now we are going back to the guild, completing the quest. Well, back to, not the guild, but the authorities. Now we go to the guild and we're swapping out party members. So, now we're back to progressing through. We're doing some skill. Now we're giving all of our poison skill points to our Hexer. Poison is a damage over time effect, but it doesn't damage based on a percent of HP. It damages based on skill damage, which means that for a lot of the game, poison actually does a considerable amount of damage. Now we're seeing more FOEs, but it's just different sorts of behaviors that they have. We run into one forcefully, now we escape from it. So someone in the chat has asked, what is the goal of Urchild? Normally, any percent is beat the Emperor, who is the boss of the 25th floor. Every 5 floors is considered a stratum, and at each one of those, you generally have a boss fight. So normally it stops at the 25th floor, but then we go into the post game, and the Earth Child is the boss of the 30th and actual final floor. So this is beating the game and then beating the post game dungeon, which adds a bit of extra time. But with how this is routed, not as much as you would think. And once we get close to the Earth Child, I will explain how fast that fight is going to go. You will not want to blink during it. But yes, we're continuing dungeon progression. I believe we did just get a text box pop-up that was basically letting us know that we found the bodies of Kurogane and his master. That's why his name was ultimately irrelevant. Now we're continuing on through to find the boss of the 5th floor. Here we're using the skill again from the survivalist to reduce encounter rate. And now we're just progressing through the dungeon. We're picking up some stuff. That's what a chest is in this game. We run into a random encounter, we escape, and then we continue walking through. And now I get a moment to drink water.
While you're drinking some water, we've been alerted that there's no commentary on the RIJ side, so anyone who is coming over from the official Restream to hear some commentary, hello, welcome to the English Speedrun Restream of RTA in Japan. We're hanging out here with DeveloperDamien, who is giving us a run-through.
So first we have the gunner used halt shot, which stuns all non-red FOEs in the area, which means that they won't come to join this boss because they can show up in the middle of the fight if they interact with you. But first, we have poison on Chimera, the floor 5 boss. We use healing items here to keep our frontliner alive as we continue to just let poison work its magic. And now you'll notice the bottom right occasionally shows the map, and the other FOEs have started closing in, but we end up winning the fight fast enough. Now we can get through. And we only got a couple of characters getting XP in that, which again is important. And now we hit 6th floor, the geomagnetic pulse here, which we can teleport to and from town through. So we can come up here, recover characters, swap out party members, and the like. But yeah, that was the poison strat for the Chimera boss, which also, the way that certain bosses have conditional drops. You just saw that we sold something for 30,000 N. That was because the conditional drop for Chimera is defeat it while it's poisoned. You don't have to defeat it with the poison, but that certainly helps. And now we're going back to the 1st floor to take care of some unfinished business. But yeah, it's glad to have people here. I hope you are enjoying. I did take a bunch of notes this morning to make sure that this was all relevant, because the difference between the old run that I know, which is the original hardware, on the DS, is about this is about half the time that takes. And it's partly because battle animations are sped up, partly because you have faster movement, but also there's so much optimization and changing in the RNG routing in this. So it is a fantastically fast run. But yeah, so here we have the second biome, which is fall. The first one was more summery, and the seasons are going to continue to play into this for another couple biomes. Now we go to the inn. We want to pass some time. Now it's morning. You also heal, but really we're doing this to pass time. The days don't matter very much. It's really the clock. So right now it's 5 a.m. There's certain things that check for if it's the morning, evening, night. But yeah, that's why we do that part. Okay. Now we have other tiles, which these are damaging tiles. They won't take you below 1 HP, so we're not too worried about them. We activate that point so we can warp back to it later if we need to. Get some additional information. We bait that FOE around, and we come through here. And then we're locked, so we finish this quest. And now we get to make progress again. And then once again, there's going to be a lot of cuts to the survivalist using the stalker skill to reduce enemy encounters. And we do eventually pump enough points into that to where it increases both how many steps it lasts for and how much less likely it is for enemies to be encountered. Which in the bottom right near the map, where you see that little glowing half circle, that says how close we are to another encounter. So when it's dark blue like this, we're very far off from it. Then it progresses towards green, then into the red. But as you change dungeon floors, it resets. But yeah, there's a lot of upstairs and downstairs and secret passages through parts of walls. Normally, you would use your DS stylus or the appropriate functions on the Switch to draw out the map and make notes of everything, but the runner knows exactly where everything is. And now we meet Wilhelm. Looks very cool. Moderately terrifying. But yes. We also have... what's her name? Hold on. Let me pull up my notes. I closed those notes. Okay. But yeah, they'll be relevant later. They're more relevant in Stratum 3. But yes, we have now the 9th floor. Still really just progressing through, trying to get to the boss on floor 10. Let's see if I can open this. More time passes. Now it's 4 p.m. So now it's dusk. And we want it to be night for the boss on floor 10. That's why this has been routed in the way that it has. Because the boss on floor 10, if you actually get to it at night, is not prepared for you at night. So, yep, now it's 6 p.m. It just hit nighttime. Now we're doing some preparation. And here we are. Here's Hellion. A lot of defense and other commands. And now we insta-kill. Kobayuchi is a very strong skill if you can guarantee when it is going to insta-kill. Also, Hellion, its unique drop, is if you insta-kill it. So that's another unique drop. That's another bunch of money. Now we're confirming some quest stuff. And now we're swapping the party around again. Yeah. Now back to floor 11. And this is winter themed. So we're going to start encountering ice tiles. Oh, we're going to level up some skills here. It is tough for me to tell exactly which characters. Because I know who does what, but I can't remember exactly what skills are being upgraded right now. Halt Shot's a big one. Stalker is a big one. Halt Shot, the more that you upgrade it, the bigger the area of effect to block FOEs from moving, and also the more turns or movements it takes for them to be able to take action again. And then for Stalker, it's about preventing movement speed, or enemy encounter rate, and how long it lasts for. So at max rank, it lasts for 250 steps, so a long time. And that also cuts down on the menuing. But here we're seeing the ice tiles. once you start moving on one, you are forced into moving in that direction. So we're just going to do some ice movement puzzles for a little bit. Activate some things. And yeah, any other questions for how this game is operating so far? Etrian Odyssey can feel horrendously unfair, but you can also do all this manip to turn the tables. Yeah, no, it's this run is fantastically optimized. Like I said, this is about half this. This is twice the speed, half the duration that the original DS or the 3DS version even was. I think we're losing a bit of the bitrate on the stream. But yeah, they're going back to the inn to take care of some things. Now we're back at the guild or the government building to continue more progression. The game does this in a lot of different spots where it just sort of blocks you off and says, hey, you need to actually do this before you do anything else. Yep, now we're on floor 12. It's frozen, but I have this on another screen. Yeah, more ice tile puzzles. As we continue through the 12th floor. Oh yeah, and now we have Arland, who says, hey, yeah, you should be turning back. It's not safe to continue. And we say, okay, because it's faster, but we're going to continue pushing forward. And in a little while, we'll see Wilhelm, who also will tell us the same thing, and we are going to give the same response. And we are still going to continue forward. But yeah, it's a lot of just map movement for a little while here. But right now, I guess I should go into the strategy for this next boss. Poison is not so much what we're going to be using. We set up 2 hexers, so one of them will be using poison. The other one is going to use a skill. What was it called? There's Evil Eye, which inflicts fear. And there's Corrupt, which inflicts curse. So here's Wilhelm telling us to go back. Evil Eye inflicts fear, and hexers also get a skill known as Suicide, which causes the enemy to attack themselves if they are afraid. And as you can probably tell by our current character levels, enemies will deal more damage to themselves than we will. So getting them to attack themselves is great. But there's also the curse status effect. And what that does is if you are cursed, you take half of the damage that you deal. So it's going to be a bit of both of those in the couple of coming fights. Yep, now we have more ice, which I believe those ones... Okay, here we are. So we're at the floor 15 boss, which is actually these 2. They're like, no, I need to protect my sister who's been turned into a monster, so we're going to defend. And we have one of the front runners use a skill that forces them to deal... Okay. It is very hard to commentate that fight because of how fast it goes. The real big thing there is Curse and the Gunners. Gunners we've been using for Halt Shot. They also have Risk Shot, which makes them take a large amount more damage, about at max rank 250% more damage, in exchange for being delayed towards the end of the turn and dealing a lot of damage with their next attack. You're taking a risk. But you have them at the front there, makes them more likely to be targeted. If the enemy has Curse, they're going to take back the damage that they deal. So you have this person that takes a ton of damage, but because the enemy is cursed, which we're about to see right here, yeah, you have front shot. You also have the Survivalist who uses first turn, which makes any character you select go first. So we make the Hexer go first. They use Corrupt, which inflicts Curse. So the enemy starts off the battle with Curse. Then the Gunner uses their skill to reduce their defenses. Then the enemy hits them, and then they take back thousands of damage. And then the enemy dies, and everybody who's alive gets all the experience. And that is the strategy for every boss fight, almost, from here on out. You're going to see it for the Stratum bosses. You're only going to not see it for a few of the random FOE battles. There's a different strategy later for that. But yeah, now we're doing time manipulation. There's stuff we have to do for that. But now we sell a bunch of things. We get access to new items in the shop through selling items we find in the dungeon. So we just sold an item that gives us access to better guns, for our gunners, which they don't deal a ton of damage, but some of the numbers are pretty close. And this is just how we make sure to get them exactly where we need them to be. Okay, now we're on floor 17, floor 18, out of 25 for the main game, 30 for Earthchild. We are moving the FOE to make sure that we can get around it. And that's a lot of this dungeon navigation is FOE manipulation, so you don't have to deal with them. Are the conditional drops very important in this run? There was the initial one with Chimera that gets us almost enough money to complete the rest of the run. 30,000, and when we resurrect characters, you have to pay an amount to revive them based on their level. The higher level you are, the more expensive it is to revive. But because our couple of characters that we're having take the fall are pretty consistent, they pretty much never gain experience until we don't want them to die anymore. So that money lasts us basically the run. So the conditional drop initially is very important. Now we don't really care. We're not going for that. We're just going for speed. And that's also why you're going to see the bosses going down almost entirely to curse damage. Yes. Oh yeah. Another reason we have the Dark Hunter in the party right now. We've been using Halt Shot, which prevents non-red FOEs from moving around. The Dark Hunter gets a skill. Let me look up the name of it really quick. It is Racket, which will lure them to the tile that you were standing on when you used the skill. And then once they actually reach that tile, they're stunned briefly. So it's just another movement manipulation skill. You use one of the skills to stop any of them from moving, and the other skill to make them move in a particular way so you can get through the dungeon better. So that combined with Stalker preventing us from seeing random encounters almost ever, helps out a lot. Also, we've got this bird guy who's been in the dungeon a while and is going to explain some plot relevant things that don't matter for this run. We're just going through it. Yeah, another secret passage, another one there, although some of them are pretty obvious with their wall markings. And then some aren't like that. But yeah, the dungeons become almost more disconnected as we go on with how we're trying to move through them, and how there's, you know, teleports and paths that go through the air and take you over to the other sides of islands and such. So a lot happening in this run. But yeah, a lot of movement. We have made it to the 20th floor, and what lies behind this door is another boss. A big surprise. It is a big old harpy. Once again, we are going to... Well, we're setting up Curse first, and then we set up with that. We do Risk Shot, and it targets the person using it, and that's the end of it. Although we do get the conditional drop there anyway. It just happens to be very fast to do. It is coincidental, not important. I don't think. I'm pretty sure the equipment doesn't matter at this point. But yeah. Now we are in the final biome. So we went through... I didn't even say the last biome was spring, because we've been going so fast. But yeah, you have the blossoms and everything going. And now we are in the 5th biome. The quote-unquote final biome. Because it's the final one of the dungeon, but not the post-game. But yeah, this one's a building. We're doing a lot of mapping of it. Walking around, going through particular routing. I believe there's invisible walls in this one too. Don't quote me on it. It's been a very long time since I've actually navigated this. And I've played a bunch of the Etrian Odyssey games, so at some point they do sort of blend together with their map making. But yeah, you see he's drawing some extra amount of it. But yeah, now we continue through. We are on floor 22. We re-up the Stalker effect. And I think we're not doing any fights until the actual boss of this area. So, if there's time for donations or anything.
So, this is the English Speedrun Restream, so we're not collecting donations directly, but if you do want to donate to RTA in Japan, you can use !donate in the chat. There's 2 bid wars open, and I believe one more milestone incentive for us to hit for the rest of the marathon. We are running out of time for games to watch, but not commentary to be had with those games. Chat, thank you so much for joining with us as we raise money for Doctors Without Borders, and thank you very much, Damien, for all that you've been doing so far for this run. You're really carrying us through here.
Yeah. Glad to hear it. This is... I mean, Etrian Odyssey games are a lot, as you can tell by the amount of talking I've been doing, and yeah, this is... I don't think that was intended. That might have been a death... I can't imagine why you would do that. That might have been an RNG reset, but when I was watching through the speedrun for this, that didn't happen. Because I made sure to check out the speedrun.com run that they had for this, but maybe it was. Maybe there was something to it. Or maybe they forgot something that they needed to go back to town for, and so they were like, this is a fast way to do it. But yeah, anyway, we're back on floor 23. And now we are... You can actually see all the FOEs on this map. And so you're just trying to not let them distract you as you continue to progress through the dungeon. Yeah, that's another... Using the luring skill to get them out of your way, and then Yes, there is this boss. There is Behemoth, I think. Colossus. But yeah, it's once again you first turn with Survivalists, you inflict curse with your Hexer, you have your gunner use risk shot. RNG has been manipulated, so it is going to target the gunner, and then it KOs itself. And we're coming up on the final boss in not too long from now. Or, well, the main game's final boss on floor 25. It is going to be handled the same way.
Relaying a message from chat real quick. It looks like the exit out or whatever happened is entirely intentional, and it was added to the run about 3 days ago. So some sort of maybe RNG manip or something going on there.
That's shocking. Okay, so when I was watching the run, I was impressed. I was like, there's no way you could optimize this further. Like, it looks task worthy practically. So the fact that it has been optimized even further is shocking. Like, to be clear, the original run for this, for any percent, the record is 1:04, 1 hours 4 minutes. The record for Child percent is 1 hour 57 minutes. And the record version that we're running right now is 51 minutes 26 seconds. So it's already been optimized fantastically, and so that's now optimizing it further. That's wild. It's sure. I mean, if you want to add something to a run 3 days before, I mean, you clearly know what you're doing. But yeah, the RNG manipulation in this is fantastic. If you've never played an Etrian Odyssey game, I recommend giving any of them a try and seeing just how difficult the games are, and then then watch this and go, oh, okay, that's how this is. It's mind-boggling. I've known a lot of people who have played the games and have never beaten any of them. They're fun, but they are very, very challenging. And this is they're just going right through it. So once again, baiting the FOEs to be able to move around them. We are on floor 25, so final boss of the game, Emperor, is coming up. And while in the menu, re-upping the skill, once again doing a suspend save to reset RNG. And a pretty clear shot to the boss at this point. Yeah, they bait the enemies in. Once again, move around. Also, their map movement's just so clean. Like, the map movement and the menuing are fantastically clean. Being able to navigate the menus and having no misinputs, because those would absolutely ruin what you're going for here. There's really just so many little optimizations going on here. And also, if you ran into a random encounter here, the importance of Stalker is that it makes sure that you can't run into enemies. Like, if you're in a random encounter and an FOE runs into you, now you're fighting that because the fight went on too long. Here's Emperor. So, we skipped past the cutscene. This is... Actually, no. This is a two-phase thing. So, we do curse, or it curses us. But it is also cursed, so that's fine. And then it asks us, there was that prompt there, which mashing that fast and still hitting no is fantastic. Because the boss is basically like, hey, become robots and work for me because you're so strong. And it auto defaults to yes, which gives you a game over. You have to mash through that and then dialogue select over to no and hit that. Doing that quickly and that confidently is it's wicked. Like, I don't know how you do that. But now here's the full fight. And a party member, we revived them with 10 HP, and I'm sure you know what's gonna happen. Now we're doing double risk shot. We're doing the first turn, and there we go. Now Emperor's down. And that's credits. That would be time for any percent. But yeah, now we have a cutscene, a bit more of this. Now we have a few minutes to just relax. Yeah, that would be any percent GG. I don't know exactly when time would be for any percent though, so don't quote me. But I would presume before this whole cutscene, because it's unskippable.
There are a lot of, especially I think Japanese like RPG speedruns and things that do specifically wait until after the credits to call time.
Mm-hmm. There are a few that do that for sure. But yeah, this one goes on for a little bit. And there's some of them where, like, for Urchild, I think it's literally on the fade out of the boss's sprite when it gets defeated. But yeah, we've still got about 10 to 15 minutes in the run. And there's only 5 floors left to go, but there's a bunch of backtracking. There's certain side quests that you need to complete before you can actually progress that dungeon, on top of the fact that it has to be nighttime to be able to access the final 5 floors. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting seeing how much manipulation's gone on, because some of these boss fights used to take many, many more turns. Chimera takes a bunch because of poison. Now we're getting some of the side quests to complete. We're also completing this one. That is we beat the final boss. And now we're allowed to explore further if we can find a way to. But yeah. So now we're going to go back to the 25th floor. And we're going to explore a little bit further. We're going to see what this thing is all about. And so now we get that geomagnetic point. We revive our characters. Well, our one character. We complete this side quest. And now we're going to do some other stuff, I believe. Yeah, so we're going back to the 21st floor. We find the Birdman. He continues to be plot relevant. And we warp wire back, and now we go to floor 1? Yes. And so we're scaling up some things. The big one here is we are on the Dark Hunter, and we are maxing out Petrify. You're about to see some of these FOEs, quote-unquote, die. If they don't seem to die due to damage, but if their sprite like stays standing, but we still manage to clear the fight, it's because they were petrified. If they can't fight anymore because they're turned to stone, then it doesn't matter anymore. Continuing to progress, we're just hunting down the weaker FOEs for a little bit because we are in a place 2 now. Gets us a little bit of experience, but we're doing this for side quest reasons, to be able to access all of the post-game stratum. So, a little bit more time to kill.
Looks like our runner here just posted a PB 2 weeks ago. for this category as well. So
yeah, that was the one I watched, the 5126. It's and the fact that another optimization was made 3 days ago is wild. But yeah, we did all we needed to on that stratum. Now we're swapping out party members again. But it's just for mostly being able to manipulate FOE movement in these areas. Also getting HP and TP upgrades for a couple of characters. We rest, we bring it to nighttime, and now that it's nighttime, we take another quest, get that done and dusted, and then we go back to floor 26, because now we can explore some of the final stratum. Yeah. Another suspend save to reset RNG. I've only finished Etrian Odyssey 4, but was so good. Really hope the rest gets released on PC. Yeah. After seeing 1, 2, and 3 get their HD re-releases, it was very cool to see. It would be cool to see some of the others, because I never had a 3DS. Okay, so here's another boss fight. This is going to be done in a very interesting way, because we brought the Ronin in, and this is an enemy we can insta-kill. We've been hunting enemies that we can't really insta-kill for so long that Kubiuchi actually gets brought back briefly. So there's that. And there's a couple more fights. There's a couple more spots where we do have forced encounters. But those are handled pretty much through Petrify. I think it's for them either 1 insta-kill, 1 Petrify, or 1 curse damage, 1 Petrify. But yeah, battle at this point is pretty solved. We've gotten through all of the hardest parts. The hardest parts are very early on, because there's just no real backtracking. But everything's been set in place and taken care of, so yeah, now it's just extremely optimal movement, extremely good menuing. Yeah, moving through secret passages, because they know where all of them are. Take the teleporter, that brings us to this floor. Take a ton of damage from the damaging floor. Warp back to town. And warp back to here. And 29th floor. So now we're going to do actually, no. We get gated by Birdman. And now we have to do a couple other things in the lower floors again. So yeah, once again, Stalker. Making sure we don't get random encounters, because what we're looking for are certain FOEs, which we did walk into one. It just didn't show up on the map very easily. And that was Petrify Kill. And that gets us... We were doing a few of those ones. Yep. Here's another. Once again, 2 defenses, and then goes to use Petrify, has everybody else defend, and that puts our RNG in a place where it's going to Petrify. And once again... Now we warp back to town, and now we go back to the 28th floor. How come they're not gaining any experience? Petrified enemies don't... Well, actually, it's because in this game, I believe, FOEs don't drop experience. So you almost never want to fight them unless you're looking for materials. So they're worth money, but you generally... they're meant to be puzzled around. You don't want to encounter them because unless they actually have the thing that you are looking for, they're not worth the trouble. I said at the start of the run that they're not even mini bosses, they're like worse than bosses. And it's true, because at least bosses will give you experience and good drops. FOEs just generally are not worth the time. But they do still drop things, and so for certain quests, you still care. But also, we're past the point of needing experience. The level that we're at is all that matters, because all we care about is having certain skills that we're able to use at the required times. We want we want our skills to have a high probability, which allowed the RNG manipulation to be simpler. Yeah, they're meant to be big threats. Yeah. More map navigation. We should be coming up on... Yeah, we're on the 30th floor. So here's a couple forced encounters. We are going to do an insta-kill and a petrify. And that's that fight, which... That was that. Yeah, the first time you're in this zone, the FOE wandering around is essentially an obstacle. Yeah. Yeah. So once again, insta-kill, petrify. And we are coming up on the end of this run. So really quick, because Urbeast is about to happen, it is a blink and miss with fight. So unless there is different RNG that has been adjusted for this fight, I think this is double petrify. Yes. So in the child fight, do not blink. It's going to be Dark Hunter defends, Hexer uses Evil Eye, Gunner uses Risk Shot, or actually, is it Evil Eye? Or it's Corrode. Hexer will use their Curse skill, Gunner uses Risk Shot, Run and defends, Survivalist uses first turn, which makes the Survivalist get the Hexer to use their skill at the top of the turn order. Urchild will hit the Gunner for about 60k damage. It'll take about 30k in return, and then time will be called. So we're just a couple minutes off from that, as we're continuing to navigate the final floor. But yeah, this has been a fun run. It has been really tightly routed, as you can tell. Yeah, again, Ansico Petrify. It's sort of amazing to see, you know, the different routes that they had for bosses previously, and the different turn orders and all these plans to just be set up to have combat solved effectively. So now we're doing our last bit of prep, our last assigning of skills, and reviving people. Here's the Urchild fight. Here it is. And... time.
Amazing run within like almost 30 seconds of the world record time.
Yeah, fantastically fast.
But thank you so much for providing commentary. If you would like to tell the people who are hanging out here where they can find you. Yeah.
So I'm DeveloperDamien almost everywhere. I'm on Blue Sky mostly these days. And yeah, I sometimes stream. It's usually Monster Rancher 2. But I also just really love RPGs, especially these sorts where they're brutally hard. Because it really allows you to show like a mastery and understanding of the game. So yeah, glad to be here. Glad to have been able to commentate.